When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. I am Brisc Rubal. Today is not Saturday. It's not our usual Meta Show time. It is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. And we have a very special midweek edition of The Meta Show. Why is it the midweek edition, Brisc, you may ask? The answer to that question is, fuck you, that's why. That's the answer to every question, by the way, when you ask me things I don't like. The bottom line is, I've been off the show for almost a month. We've had multiple different things happening. We've had the Alliance Tournament. Congratulations, Fraternity. Way to go. Nullsec winning the thing, an actual Nullsec Alliance and not a bunch of cheaters. Congratulations. Right? It's nuts. We have a CSM election happening right now. This is the voting week. How can we possibly have a voting week without at least a reveal and discussion of the Imperium Ballot here on the Meta Show? Where is Mark? I don't know where the hell Mark is. Kaz, talk again.
Let's see if this was Brisc's fault or if it's still my fault.
It better not be my fault because I have done everything perfectly. I'm just saying. All right, now we're back. So, Kaz was mentioning it's crazy that Fraternity, an actual real Nullsec alliance that was not specifically created by a bunch of elite PvPers to win the Alliance Tournament, actually won the Alliance Tournament. Congratulations, Fraternity.
Yeah, absolutely right. I said it. I had almost forgotten that happened. It's been so not even that long, but so much other stuff has happened since then. But it's been the most packed summer in EVE Online that I think I can remember. Not that my memory is all that good, and most of my EVE experience is very old, right? But yeah, things have been busy.
We know you don't actually play this game, Kaz, at least according to all the people giving you a hard time. So anyway, congratulations to Fraternity for winning the Alliance Tournament. That was a big deal. I know that there is always groups that come and go that are all about doing the Alliance Tournament, but it's good to see a good old-fashioned Nullsec Big Block Alliance winning as the first time a Big Block Nullsec Alliance has won since 2015, the last time Pandemic Legion won an Alliance Tournament. So this was a big deal. Now, we had a big fight. We're going to talk about that later in the show. We have CSM elections. We're going to talk about that now. And joining us tonight, listen, for those of you who are wondering, where is Mark? I don't know where Mark is. I said, we're doing the show at 7 o'clock. We sent out pings. We've been working on it all day. He's not here. I don't know where the fuck he is. So Mark will probably get here at some point in the next hour and a half because this is a special edition of the Meta Show. Huh?
Looking for a bathrobe, I guess.
I mean, that's entirely likely that he could be looking for a bathrobe. But the bottom line is, special edition of the Meta Show, we're going to talk until we can't talk anymore, which is 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 0030 EVE. We're going to hand things off to Rampage Incorporated, of which I am a part, and we will get on there in a second. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk with the number 1, number 2, and number 3 ballot slot choices for the Imperium. Our boys, Kazanir, Angry Mustache, and one Mr. Content Record.
Yeah, hello.
How are you, sir?
Welcome.
I'm doing very good.
This is your first time on the Meta Show, by the way. I looked back through my records to make sure this is your first time.
Yeah, for sure. And
all of a sudden now you are sliding in to the coveted number 3 slot on the Imperium Ballot, a slot held by one Brisc Rubal in the last 3 elections. Very exciting. How does it feel to be put in that position?
It feels good. I think the number 3 works, especially being a Potchman candidate. I think that that's very on theme for me.
That is completely on theme. I have to give you a lot of credit for that, because nailing the number 3 slot as a trig, Mr. Triangle himself, this is probably serendipity, is what I would call it.
So
Sure.
Tell us, so for all the viewers who don't know, a bunch of people in the Alliance know you already, but give us an introduction for anyone watching the show who doesn't know who is Content Recore, or maybe they've never been to the Triangle, to Pachman in their lives. Tell us your history there.
Right. So I was basically a line goon during World War B, right? I was getting into my Munin. I was,
Me too.
Dying for the state. I would reship. And that was kind of just the extent of my assets, right? 2 billion assets or something like that. And I eventually decided, well, I want to actually do something interesting in EVE. So I'm going to try to become an SC, but I need ISK. So I'm going to go find some ISK. And I ended up in Pochven eventually. And I decided, wow, the ISK here is really good. Some stuff happened. There were some people that were already there that maybe didn't handle it the best. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to make my own group. I'm going to do it my own way. And I'm going to make a lot of ISK. And so that's essentially what happened. I made a lot of ISK.
And now you
had a lot of fights. And yeah.
And I was checking the exit polling thread. Now you have more active accounts than I do. That's interesting.
Yep. 15 is what I usually
That's
go
a
with,
lot.
for sure. Yeah.
That's I think in the thread he says 17. He's beating me by 1. I was very impressed. So yeah, that triangle money is real.
Mhm.
All right. So what is your take on the CSM this year? Tell us what made you want to run. We can get into the math in a little bit about why we put you 3rd, which is a completely different sort of analysis, but tell us about you.
Right. So essentially the reason I wanted to run was so for a brief moment there, I was Goonstorm director for Pochven last year. CCP decided to nerf Pochven in possibly the worst way that they could have done it.
Welcome to the club, by the way.
Totally ruined not only the region, but just the distribution of the ISK that was coming out, right? It was about halved, but it was going to maybe 10 people. And the irony there is that the people that were getting all of that ISK were even telling me, because I'm friends with most of them, that is not the solution they wanted either.
Sure.
Of course, they didn't look the gift horse in the mouth. They just sat there and collected the ISK for 4 months. But I mean, what are you going to do? You're an EVE player, right? So
we've been in exactly that position as an alliance for years, as a matter of fact, and that's exactly what you do. You take what you can get, right? So
yeah. So when I got back to the game beginning of this year for the war, because I took a break around the end of last year, I'm no longer in charge of the Pochven SIG or the group or anything like that. I have a lot of free time. I have a lot of experience, probably more than anyone else in the Imperium with Pochven specifically. So I figured, well, I could run as a Pochven candidate and also try to, get some of my other experience in there as well, because I've done a lot of stuff outside of EVE that I think would make me good for the CSM.
Like what?
Right. So I used to be a
first of all, before you go any farther,
sure,
I need to beat the living crap out of you for saying right. You are falling into a Casimir trap of ending every sentence with the word right. He does that and it makes me want to cry.
I've been trying to be better.
Fight him. Fight it. Fight. Anyway, go
it's
ahead. Sorry,
a verbal
Con.
tick I've gotten from the fireside.
Maybe I got it from you, Casimir. Who knows?
He did. You totally did, because he does it to me. He has me saying right, and I'm
I'm blaming the fireside, right?
You just did it again.
Oh man, yeah. So I was a modder for probably the past decade or so is what I've been a game modder. So I've worked on a lot of big projects with a lot of interesting people doing a lot of cool things, and I've run teams, I've been on teams, and as I mentioned in my CSM interview, I even actually had a CSM analog for a project I was working on where we wanted to gather feedback from a lot of the more invested players, right? So that's kind of where I feel like I'm good for the CSM, just because I've done a lot of that stuff. I have game design experience as well. Obviously, I'm not expecting to get a lot of my game design ideas on there, but I do have a pretty decent understanding of the kinds of things CCP would want to prioritize, I guess.
All right. Now, from my perspective, this has been an exceedingly difficult CSM season. Why do you say that, Brisc? And it's not just because I'm not running, because frankly, that has been the easiest part of this entire thing. But trying to come up with a solid slate of 10 people who understand, at least from a nullsec alliance's perspective, understand nullsec, understand the areas of the game that are important, and are not giant assholes has been very difficult. Let me tell you.
You're saying that most of the CSM candidates running are giant assholes? How dare you? That sounds
I think
totally
that a number
normal
of them
for you.
are. I think a number of them are, because I'll tell you, and I've said this before, and I will say this again, and I am not going to name any names because I don't have to, because you guys know who I'm talking about. The candidates who, among other things, spend all of their time talking about one issue and one issue only, and that is adding fatigue to Ansiblex jump gates. These are the types of people that dust my doilies. Why are they bad people, Brisc? Well, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm sure they're very nice. They all have mothers, I think. They all have friends and family that care for them. They're probably nice guys in real life. I may even want to buy one of them a Diet Coke. But they don't like how you play the game and they want to take it away from you. So just keep that in mind. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the next segment where we talk about everybody on the list. Because tonight we're going to go over in detail, because we have this, every single major ballot that we have been able to put together and talk about the people on it and talk about the process in general, because I think this is important. This is CSM week. But before we get started, I'm going to start with this. And that is, how do I vote? Mrs. Brisc was just asking me, how do we vote? So here we go. CCP put together a nice little ballot thing here. It says CSM 18, cast your vote now, talking about how to vote. There's a little video that they're showing of how to go through the process, how to actually vote. It's a 4 minute and 55 second video. I don't know how it's possible for them to talk about the voting process in 4 minutes and 55 seconds, but they did. But really, all you need to do is go over here to this website, and I'm going to link it in the chat. Here it is. You get Briscception for 1 second here. In the chat, you click on vote, and it'll pull up a list of the candidates, and then you can run through and vote for any of the candidates that you want. You put them in the right order. I can't do that on here because I've already voted, but the whole process is designed to allow you to pick 10 people. So you could go in through and you could say, well, you know what? I want Contan. I want Mark. And you put them in the order that you want them in. And you make sure that you vote properly and you put them all in. You do all 10. And then boom. Now, guess what? Guess what? This website sucks, guys. Not going to lie. This website is ancient. It was old when I first ran for the CSM. I didn't have gray hair back then. It has not gotten any younger, and it doesn't work very well. So for those of you like Contan, like Kazanir, who have to vote multiple times, like me, I voted 6 times. I would have voted 7, but I let Mrs. Brisc vote Mrs. Brisc because she will kill me if I don't. You're going to have to go in and do this by hand each time. The saving of it, like with a cookie, does not work anymore. So you're going to have to go through and do it each time. Now,
actually,
go ahead, Avery. If you have a way to do it that works.
There was an option where it not only so at the very first one, there was an option if you enter a certain URL, your ballot would actually be pre-filled for you. So we were voting by giving our people pre-filled ballot links, tell them to go in, click the button, done. And the CCP removed it the next year and then mocked us with a in-game. You can actually find an in-game item mocking this. The
CSM
pre-filled 10
yes.
ballot, yes.
Yeah. Now we can give you the list, but it has to be double-clicked in order by people who've gotten very proficient at it. Our ballot discipline is legend. That's why we always emphasize this. This is the thing the state asks you to do the most in lockstep with what the alliance declares, and it works for us. Every year we turn out the most people in the best lockstep with the most people voting that exact same ballot, and that's what gives us our voting strength, is the ability to do that. Yeah. So
as we are fond of saying, in the Imperium, you are free to exercise your vote exactly how the state tells you to.
That's right.
And this is a mathematical fact, if you don't do that, your vote is actually worth less. Which is
Bingo.
why you
And we're going to get into
tell
that
you to do that.
right now, because we're going to go over all of the major block and one major faction warfare groups ballots, because there are some that didn't do this and we're going to mock them. So without further ado, let's talk about all of the various CSM ballots. Here we go. All right, first up, we have our boys in Barf. Brave Collective's CSM 18 ballot. Thank you to Mark for ginning up all of these wonderful, exciting, lovely, and adorable CSM, what I don't even know what they're called. I guess
image macros,
whatever. Screen thingy mahoogers that do this.
I think it's
Mark has emerged. He says he overslept. So we may see Mark in a little while. But in the meantime, we're going to go through and do this stuff here.
Thankfully, he doesn't even need to find a shirt, right?
Well, I assume he was sleeping, in whatever he wears all the time with that his lovely bead of blue loot around his neck, whispering at night, please don't nerf me, which is not what Angry's going to do. Right?
No. I mean, yes.
We'll see what happens.
There you go.
I haven't visited Praise Bob myself yet.
So the first CSM ballot for Brave Collective, we're going to go over this. So they have Dujek as their number 1 guy, Yando as their number 2 guy. This makes perfect sense. These are both Brave guys. Jinx Takare, who is the current Alliance executive for Brave Alliance, Brave Collective, is not running for re-election. This is one of the rare but not unheard of times when a senior nullsec alliance leader who got elected pretty handily to the CSM decides he's going to bow out and not run again. So he decided not to do that. Congratulations to Jinx. You have figured out how to win the CSM. Congratulations. We're proud of you. But he has put Dujek in. Unfortunately, he is going to have to deal with all the nonsense. Now, Brave. Brave has good numbers. If they can turn their people out, they will be able to get folks elected. The question is, will they turn people out? Dujek is well known inside Brave, not that well known outside of Brave, but he's not Jinx. He's not Dunk Dinkle. So we will see whether or not they manage to get their guy in here in the first round, or whether or not there's going to be some stuff later. Yandu, their industrialist guy, I guess he's their version of Angry. He's their version of Ken Feld in the number 2 slot. Orchid from Volta. Obviously, Brave is going to have a Volta guy on their top of their ballot because they are part of their B2 coalition. Pando from Init, who is also a currently serving CSM member. And 5th, Content. There you go. You made it. That's pretty solid. You made it on there. Brave Collective, number 5.
Not bad.
Brave rounds theirs out with Keshaw. Luke from Fraternity, who is a current CSM or Dutch gunner, many-time candidate. The Oz, who has so much money he can't be bought, which always scares me when politicians say that. I remember a certain one who said that a couple of years ago, and he's been indicted 4 times since then. And Mark Resurrectus at the very end.
Who's also now here and messed up your framing.
Did you mess up my framing? You
son
of a...
Half, we can only see my chest.
Classic wormholer.
Now I have to fix it because you showed up.
Listen.
You talk while I am fixing things. I'm mad at you. How dare you fall asleep?
It has been a long, hard campaign season, Brisc, and
one of those.
And I'm just the grind has been it's been so rough, so much. And so yes, I did take a nap. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I do that from time to time. And yes, perhaps I did oversleep. These things happen as well. So I'm just glad it's 7:30 and not 9 o'clock. That is
correct. That would have been a lot worse if you had completely flaked the fuck out for the show. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you have any comments while we're here? Do you have any comments about Braves group?
How does 10th feel, Mark?
I wish I was higher. I had
Me too.
I had I know, right? I had any of these, I think a lot of the ones where I was higher last year, and that always hurts. At least Brave did me the decency of keeping me on the ballot at all. I don't know if you've gotten to it yet, but Horde really slid the old.
We have
wagon.
not. We're
Don't
going to get
spoil
there.
it. This is
We're
the
not going to
first
spoil.
one.
We're not going to spoil. We're not going to spoil. But I will say the guys in my alliance took this much worse than I did. And even earlier today, they were threatening to go out and start reffing Brave and Sublexes, and I had to tell them to calm down and
No, can they do that, please? That would be fine. I'm not going to.
They
That
don't
would
need
actually be a
to.
great
Braves
thing if they
and
want to do that.
Sublexes are always reinforced.
I
is
told
true.
them I didn't want Jinx out here stabbing me in the night. So we'll see. But no, I mean, other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know. I mean, obviously the top 3 are pretty straightforward to me. Those are all B2 guys. And then a couple of these, I just, I know Dutch Gunner was one of their mercs for their AT team. So shout out to Dutch Gunner.
Is that where he came from? I was wondering where that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jinx mentioned that earlier today. But then beyond that, I mean, I do think Luke is funny on this one. And not because I don't like Luke. I love Luke. Luke's a homie. But Luke is the one dude who is maybe on more AT ballots than everybody else. And I wonder how that works. I wonder why. I mean, he's
and also not necessary because he won first ballot.
Oh yeah.
By far last time. Not
he's
even
gonna be
close
there.
to being needed.
Yeah, he's gonna be there.
What's going on there?
What do you think happened? Did they do this to you on purpose?
I don't know. Listen, we'll get into this way more when we get to a certain other ballot. So let's continue.
Indeed, we
We're
will.
gonna keep
Save the best
continuing.
for last.
How do you like
Let's,
this format, by the way? You know why I overslept is because I spent 3 hours working on these earlier today.
On these are very good. I'm very pleased with it. You did a good job. All right, so moving on to the next one. So this is the Gal Mill ballot.
Yeah, my
Now,
boy Young Puke.
We have generally not talked about any of the faction warfare guys, and I don't think any of the other faction warfare groups, Cal Mill and obviously our dear friends in the other 2 factions, did not put anything out. I didn't see anything from the Amar guys or from the Mimitar guys. So we saw the Gal Mill ballot. Number 1 is on the screen. Number 2 is Mark Resurrectus. That's good.
Well,
congrats, Mark.
I told Phantomite I wouldn't say anything bad, so I'm not saying anything bad.
That's much better
I'm not saying anything at all.
than
Yes.
the last one.
It is much better than the last one. I will
So
say this.
I didn't actually know you shared so much sort of overlap voter with the low-sec peeps, with the Facwar peeps, right?
So what this is an interesting one because I very briefly last year was a Facwar CEO. We had we before direct enlistment, we created a side corp that we put some of our alts in, and we had people go out and do Facwar stuff with Galmill. That being said, it did almost kill my corp because about half of our guys just went and only did that and did not come home. So
Wait, what? They didn't come home to the C5s of milk and honey?
Good.
I know.
I'm losing my mind. What happened?
It was wild. Eventually, I was able to corral them all back and bring them back over. So, no, listen. The thing about this one too is Phantomite. I know I've said the name now, so he'll know. He'll hear us.
I'm sure he will find a way to make a campaign commercial out of me not really talking about him today.
Phantomite.
Other than I said something about a Diet Coke in the beginning. Go ahead.
Phantomite's corp is in the biggest Galmill corp or biggest Galmill alliance, Sedition. So he has been their choice. And as far as I know, they don't have anybody else running. So he is kind of the default, I think, for them. And hope that goes well. I'm excited to be on their ballot. I stumped for Gal Mill, man. Fuck the squids, all that. It's good. It's good fun.
So, in addition to Phantomite and Mark, they have Stitch number 3, Torvald number 4, Gideon 5th, Drake 6th, Kale 7th, Dujek 8, Pando 9, and the Oz 10. The one thing that I will note here, which I find most amusing, these guys all have almost to a person every single guy who has advocated loudly and longly about Ansiblex fatigue on their ballots. And then there's Mark. Are you going to stab me in the back on Ansiblex fatigue, Mark?
The thing you need to understand is I have maintained the same position throughout this entire campaign season that I had last campaign season. And in fact, every month in between, which is that I am not a nullsecker. I don't interact with nullsec that often. I am not the person who needs to be making that decision.
Thank you.
Aren't you the rental lord of Wicked Creek?
I was.
He was.
Oh, you were. Okay.
I was.
Fair.
We gave up our Sov because we kept getting war decked.
Nice. That's a good excuse.
My responsibility, my job is to represent wormholers and advocate for wormhole space. If they were to propose a change to Ansiblexes that would affect wormhole space, then I would be interested in saying something about it. But as for how that change needs to happen, if it needs to happen, that's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? So,
all right. Now, Contan, what do you think about Ansiblexes on fatigue on Ansiblexes?
Well, see, I'm a Pochman candidate, so clearly I have no opinion on anything in null.
Yeah,
that's how it works, right?
That's a good answer. That's also a good answer.
That's how it works, right?
That's absolutely a great answer.
He's learning.
Just ignore my ticker.
That's a great answer.
True politic. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. All right, moving on after Galmel. Next up is Greater Trash Coalition. Largely, this is our boys in Volta, as well as our boss friends and the other folks that are in there. And did you see the CSM ad I did for Fan on Reddit? Yes, I did, Hoff. That's all. It's all about me. I like the beard. I liked the beard on me. That was very cute. GTC's ballot obviously goes with their people first. So White Orchid from Volta and Rots from Blob are number 1 and 2. And then Brave is number 3, with Pando rounding it out number 4. The surprising thing to me, and this reeks of nullsec politics, is Fraternity at number 5 on their ballot. Kaz, what do you think about that?
Yeah. It's interesting. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but the big fight that we were going to get to at some point in the show.
We still will. We have plenty of time. We have an hour to go.
Involved Fraternity trying to take Space and Declan from Blob, right? Yes? Someone nodded for me. Thank you.
That
okay,
is the
just
war
making
in
sure.
The north.
So I thought that was interesting. I thought the overall composition of the ballot was not totally surprising, but interesting. Interesting stuff. I wonder what's going on there. But glass houses, right? Let's continue.
There you go. Mark, what do you think?
About Luke?
Yeah.
It's
the same thing 5th on the GTC ballot.
It's the same thing I thought about Brave, right? He was on the Brave ballot. Not quite as high as he is on this one,
but they're fighting. The whole reason this war started was as I understood it, Morales was pissed at Volta.
Well, yeah, bro, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I think it's funny because I want to be, again, very clear. Luke is a great candidate, and I like Luke a lot. I've enjoyed working with him. The fact that he's on so many ballots, when he's probably going to be the second highest vote getter in the whole thing, if things play out like they did last year.
Correct.
And 2, he's on the tickets of so many groups who his group has been actively hostile towards. Is just really, really funny. Luke's a great dude, but the fact that he's on the ballots of groups who his group has tried to run down in the street is hilarious.
Right. Now let me call a spade, and let's not get out here and start talking like this isn't obvious what this is. This is vote trading, guys. The big nullsec alliances will trade slots amongst themselves. You put your guy at one level, I'll put my at another level, and they pick which ones are doing that. The question to me, though, is why Norals felt like he needed to trade it all. Well, because again, if you look at the numbers,
here's the thing. Do you want
me
to do some math on this?
Go ahead. I would love
So
to hear
here's
the
the thing about my theory about why Luke gets traded is that FRT only ran one candidate this year. Anyone who looked at their ballot last year know they have the candidate, they have the ballot strength for 2, but they only ran 1, which means that whatever they have, the remainders they have after the official FRT ballot candidates on, they have a lot of remainder, and that gives them a lot of makes their remainder take it very powerful. So that's why people want to be on the FRT ballot, because they know FRT really only wants their guy on. And yeah, they have the second guy, Valonad, who basically is replacing Kenneth Feld. But even after that, they still have a ton of transfer. So people just that's why groups went to FRT for a trade, and why FRT says, well, take Luke, even though he doesn't need us, but it's better than nothing. It's back scratching, building relations for people who might get elected. You can say, hey, we hope you get on. You got
on the screen here, you can see I've got Kaz. Kaz was number 1, biggest vote getter last time. Luke was number 2, followed by Storm, and then myself. And so obviously, I mean, Storm's running again. Kaz is running again. These guys are automatically elected. Luke will get elected again.
So you cut it off at the top 5 there. Well, you could have cut it off at the top 6.
I could have cut it off at the top 7. I'm just saying. I cut it off at 4 because I stopped with me. But there you go. Those are solid numbers. But the whole point is, it's interesting to see Nerouse playing the politics game. That's a nice thing to see, because traditionally, at least as far as I can think back on, one of the things that we've been surprised the most in terms of the Imperium has been how slow FRT has been to figure out their relative power when it comes to getting people elected. Maybe they don't care. They got Maria Taylor elected. They didn't get anybody, and then they got Luke. So it weirds me out. It makes me wonder why it took so long for them to finally figure this out.
Well, because Maria didn't really work out well. That sort of dampened their thing. Like, you were on there with Maria. He tried, but the fact that he lives 12 time zones off from when the meetings are held means that he really can't have as much impact as he have. So they took a year off to figure out what they should do, and their solution is run someone in ENWC with their Chinese votes.
Which is good. All right. So moving on. Next up, Pandemic Horde. Pandemic Horde. Here we go. So the Horde ballot this year is striking for a number of things. Normally, for one, they usually will trade with us. Kaz, did that happen this year?
We have not traded with Pandemic Horde for multiple years.
Really? Okay.
No, absolutely not.
We have not traded. Well, I don't think we've ever traded with Horde for votes.
Okay. So there was no trading with Horde, and there was
has not traded with Horde. Yeah.
There's been nobody, at least nobody that I saw from any of the groups that we like, included on their ballot, which is odd because normally you'd think there would be at least some crossover other than Luke that potentially would be on the Horde ballot. But no, they went with Alcoholic Satan number 1, Storm Delay second. Storm Delay second is odd to me.
Can I interrupt real quick?
You may, go right ahead.
I have a lot of feelings about this ballot, primarily because I'm not on it. But the thing that bothers me the most, unironically, is that Storm Delay is number 2. Because Stormy is a homie. He did a great job last year, and the fact that he got bumped for Alcoholic Satan, who by all accounts is a fine dude. I've got no issue with Alcoholic Satan. In fact, I like Satan, and hail Satan. I think that it is, at this point, Storm Delay should be considered the senior member of that group. He's already done it 1 year. He did a great job that 1 year. I just think it feels disrespectful to me.
If we don't, I'll have to pull up the text if Brisc doesn't have it of Goblin's announcement ping about this specific matter, wherein he says very specifically, I was thinking about running again this year, but have instead ceded my slot to Alcoholic Satan to do this, pursue his particular campaign, which we'll get to the details of. I know. I don't want to spoil it quite yet, but man, it was super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a bit arrogant because if you look at the ballots last year, Storm Delay was not a first round pick. Storm Delay got on 7th.
Yeah, he got him really late.
Correct.
And the Horde number 2 was Kenneth Feld, who didn't need help. Kenneth Feld got on primarily from the being number 2 on the FRT ballot. Then their number 3 was, I think, what's his face from Snuff?
Hiwanto.
Hiwanto. And Hiwanto didn't get on.
No.
So
Close though.
Close, but he didn't get on. So
and
there is a real chance that Storm Delay doesn't make it this year. And
I think it's 100% chance, because I don't think Horde does not have the voting. Their people do not have the voting prowess, I should say, to get 2 people elected. They just don't. And the thing is, your point about Storm is 100% valid. He got 2,521 votes in the first round. He was the 3rd highest vote getter, but he didn't get elected in the first round. Why? Because the quota was 2,802. It took 7 rounds to get to him, which meant that there were almost nobody outside the Horde and the PanFam family that had him even on their ballot. That it had to go down that far, that's pretty telling. Now, if he's not on there, and they have Alcoholic Satan number 1, and I'm going to ask about that in a second, they have him first, and Storm is second, then I don't see Storm getting. I just don't see it. I don't see.
I think
it makes it much harder
because
so
unlike Storm last year, Storm was actually on a number of ballots this year. Horde traded him out to at least NC Dot and PL and Fraternity, as you saw. But they do run the chance of neutering their CSM power, because what we all found out is that first-year CSMs are not as effective as second and third years, because you need time to build those interpersonal relations, which Alcoholic Satan's not going to have because he's fresh, and because Storm didn't get on, he's not going to be able to use them. So I think this is a questionable move by Goblins, but there's plenty more to talk about this thing later once that time comes.
Yeah.
Now, my big question here, and this is for Angry and Kaz, and maybe Mark, I don't even know, maybe Content might know. Who the fuck is Alcoholic Satan?
He is the guy who runs Horde's home defense group, I think. Like,
Yeah.
that's how he got his
I
start.
can take this one a little bit too.
Please, I'll follow up.
So from what I understand is that Alcoholic Satan is obviously the head of Pancrab, so that's their umbrella organization, right? Also known for being a bit of a hothead as well in Horde discords and such. But
that's great.
He's just kind of a perennial, just Horde director, does his thing. There is some drama, especially related to Pachin with him, but you know.
So I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall to figure out what Storm did to piss Gobbins off to make him number 2 and stick this guy that I'd never heard of. Pancrab, is that their PvE group?
Yes, exactly.
Group.
That's their equivalent of what we call Beehive, right? See, but for them, without the threat of NPC space, they have maintained that organization in its current form for a long time, and I think Satan has been in charge of it for a long time. Whereas for us, we end up, having the umbrella fall apart and having to put it back together at the alliance level and appoint new leadership with whoever's around and do that on a cycle because of the difficulty of when we're getting hunted out of NPC Delve. And I think by contrast, that's a pretty stable organization and hence a very powerful fiefdom within Horde itself that this guy operates. So I can't say I'm surprised to see him get that slot from Goblins Direct, but it's indicative of who runs the show there, I think.
It scares me that they are putting a Super Crab as their guy.
Well,
that just...
I mean, Drop SSF is quite good right now. It's no surprise.
Yeah.
So my perspective is that
Kaz, can you get me that ping, by the way? Keep going, Angry.
How you when you have multiple candidates, what you want to do is you want to run the candidate with the least external support first. And then you run the candidate with more external support second. So what they have done is that they know that Storm Delay has built somewhat of a reputation for himself on this term. He's a better known name and a better chance of pulling outside votes than Alcoholic Satan. So
is he though?
I'd argue there's some.
Is he though? I mean, it's not like Storm was one of these guys that you saw everywhere.
No,
I mean, I know he talked a lot with the Horde folks, but he was not one of these guys that was like a front page person.
He has some name recognition, and if you look, I think Horde did the right thing by trading out Storm Delay asking Storm Delay for all their trades and not asking anything for Satan, because that's the that's what you're supposed to do to maximize the number of candidates you elect, and that's why we asked our trays to have content rather than me or Kaz, because at least we presume the two of us are locks.
All right. Now,
fair to say. Yeah.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room here that Kaz, I know, wants to discuss. So Goblin sends out a ping. Okay. Sends out a ping talking about the CSM and why they went the way that they went. And I will pull this up on the screen and read it to you people. Okay. Goblins, we have a very important task in the CSM this year. In case you haven't noticed, our enemies failed over and over to mess with our homelands. Let me just get that right. There you go. They are now trying to get CCP to do the job for them. To avoid that, it is paramount that we get our voices heard on the council. We have the numbers in the alliance to get 2 candidates elected, but have been unable to thus far. I hope this year can be the first year where we get both of our guys in the CSM.
It's pretty explicit campaigning to start off, right? Yeah.
Right. Originally, I was going to run again this year with Storm Secondary. Why he would want to do this, I don't fucking know. It's crazy. I've ceded my spot to Satan instead with a mandate to address huge problems in the game ecosystem and risk-reward balance, because Storm wasn't doing that, especially pertaining to high-risk PvE such as the crab beacons and its interaction with whaling, which is almost non-existent. Also, to balance and boost drone regions loot. Storm continues to be our expert for fleet combat, and the IT side of things is number 2. Satan and Storm are longtime Horde directors, blah, blah, blah. The rest of the candidate we have filled with allies and neutral candidates. After some bad experiences last year, I have left out any candidate from other blocks or from Wormhole's low-sec. We tried last year, and all we got for it was the jealous ire of the other candidates from those areas that didn't get on our ballot or got a lower spot instead. All right. Now, Kaz, what is he talking about? Our enemies have failed over and over to mess with our homelands, and they're now trying to get CCP to do the job for them. What the hell does that even mean?
You know, this is interesting, right? It seems to be the implication, right? Like we just mentioned, drones don't have NPC space within their network of like 8 or 9 regions, and this makes them in substance pretty safe from getting neutral dreadnoughts or hostile dreadnoughts dropped on them from anywhere, right? Their umbrella does not have the threat that NPC Delve represents to us. But apparently,
okay, so that's what you think about NPC space.
It certainly seems that way, right?
Now let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. Angry Mustache, have you spent any time this year arguing in favor of NPC space in the drone regions?
Yes.
How much?
It's not a decent amount, but it's not part of my campaign. It's not important enough.
Not part of your campaign, not important enough. Kaz, have you spent any time trying to get NPC space in the drone regions?
No, as a matter of fact, I think the one time it came up, I said, actually, that's not what I want to talk about. I really would love to be gunning for a wider set of changes that have us thinking, well, can they add more nullsec everywhere? Which is right now, that's an idea that sounds crazy, right? But I think there are other approaches to this, and no, we haven't. I don't feel like made it a priority, and it's not in my campaign post. What's interesting is I feel like Goblins knows better, because I had the opportunity to share some of my ideas for my CSM turn with him personally, and I knew that some of the things that at that point I knew some of what he had pursued during his CSM term, right? I won't get into specifics, but during this conversation, shared with him that in certain respects these ideas aligned, and I was going to pursue them in spite of the fact that we're politically opposed to each other in theory, right? So this was just almost embarrassing to see from him, right? I don't necessarily ever want to have to put the black shirt on for a show. But it seemed like basically an invitation to counter these outright falsehoods,
Now, Mark, you've been on the CSM for a year. Have you openly advocated for NPC space in the drone regions?
I didn't know that there was not NPC space in the drone regions.
Okay.
If I can be perfectly honest, just didn't know.
Content.
Yeah.
Have you done it? Have you advocated for NPC space in the drone regions in your campaign this year?
My campaign? No.
Okay. Guess what, guys? Guess what?
No.
There is one person on the CSM who has made multiple arguments over the years to get NPC space in the drone regions, not just in the drone regions, but in every area of nullsec that doesn't have NPC space. That person has served multiple terms. He has done PowerPoint presentations a la Angry Mustache style to CCP on the subject. He has pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And that person is me, who is not running again. So who the fuck is Goblins talking about? I'm the only person that has spent multiple years trying to get NPC space in the drone regions. And it's not just so we can dread bomb them the way that they dread bomb us whenever our guys are running crab beacons in 39p or running them in 1DQ. And it's not just because I want to have a kickoff place so we can go invade the drone rants. The bottom line is, when I'm out on a roam and I got to go to the drone regions, the one thing I can guarantee is I'm going to have to go 100 fucking jumps or wait a filament time to get out of there to get anywhere where I can get a station where I can go repair or just dock up for a little while to take a piss. There should be no regions in this game that are so safe, and by safe I mean totally ownable and excludable, that anybody that roams in your space should never be able to find a place to take a piss. It should not exist. And that's why I've advocated as hard as I have for NPC space in the drone regions. It has nothing to do with wanting CCP to kill Horde, because they can't. It's not because I think that I don't like goblins or anything like that. It's because I think it's better for the game in general if there is NPC space in every nullsec region, just so there's at least one station that I can go to and say, you know what? We just filamented in here. I got stuck in fucking, clava lava. I want to go dock up somewhere for 10 minutes so I can take a piss. And then we'll come back and we'll keep roaming. That's all I want. That's all I want. And that's what I'm asking for. And so poor Goblins has to go and pull this shit out. So then, you know what? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There. Friendship ended with Goblins. TBD is not my best friend.
There you go. There's a drunk selfie, fam. We were ready for this.
Yeah.
Mark, how do you feel about all this? Were you on Horde's ballot last year? I didn't track.
I was.
What were you? What rank? What spot?
I would have to go back and look. I think it was decent. I think it was like maybe 6 or 7. Like I felt like pretty good about that one.
So what did you do to disappoint Admiral Gabirius so much this year, Mr. Resurrectus?
I am gonna be perfectly honest with you. I've had several great conversations with Goblins over the last year about my space and how it works, and the way that it's balanced and things that I would like to see implemented. And I thought I thought he was a homie. I don't understand what I did wrong. Why don't he want me, man? What?
People they seem to think you're half good now, Mark. How dare you? You take a media job that Goblins doesn't have and wasn't offering?
Yeah, I mean,
how dare you?
On the one hand, it does suck. I have tried to maintain professionally a kind of diplomatic neutrality. I have not advocated within the CSM, or honestly even outside of the CSM, for changes that would affect any one group more than any other. I feel you all know.
Yeah.
And we could bring in Storm Delay if we needed to. We could bring in Luke. We could bring in Kenny and ask any of them. The same thing applies across the entire board. I've been an advocate for wormhole space and wormholers. That's my priority. I don't actually know that much about the subtle nuances of null politics. So for him to then, yes, I sit here on the show and do this thing every weekend because I was asked to, and it's a great platform to continue to advocate for my people in my space, and talk shit every so often. It's fun.
And I think it's fantastic that we have someone who is free of the taint in that way of nullsec politics here in that spot and able to do that job in a way that honestly I could not, right? I think that's fantastic, right? It's just a huge upgrade to the overall like Eve discourse meta. So the fact that there's apparently some lingering bitterness is comical.
It bothers me because it makes me feel like I have been targeted for doing something that is fun and beneficial for wormhole space, which sucks. And so while Horde has taken the axe to me this year, there was another group that came through in kind of a big way. And I don't want to get ahead of
We'll get to them in a minute.
We're going to get to them in a minute, but I'm just saying, not all is as it seems.
Sandrin seems to be arguing here that somehow the WC guys versus and the WC guys and PanFam have the same number of regions as Imperium does. But let me tell you something. Maybe in terms of regions, I don't even think it's close in terms of regions, because I know he's throwing Init in with the Imperium, even though they left the Imperium. And I know that he's trying to make this argument by spinning the numbers the way it looks. But look at this. The top 4 Sov holding groups in the game.
Yeah.
Fraternity, their renters, Horde, NC Dot. 255, 255, 251, 206. Right there.
That's a lot.
There's almost
space.
1,000 systems. And look, you've got Init with 130, 300 for us. Another 77 down here for Blob. The argument, I mean, it just gets worse the farther you go down. But the idea that the Imperium and B3 or B2 or whatever you want to call them together hold even close to the number of systems, which is really what matters rather than regions, then it's not even arguable, and you're just making yourself look foolish. So stop talking. Anyway,
does BIBC really not have an alliance logo? Is that real?
No, they've never had one.
Why?
I don't know.
My gosh, I fucking hate that shit, man.
Because they're renters. Why would they never have an
right, they don't
alliance
care.
logo?
Do the bare minimum. Jesus
Maybe
Christ.
the alliance is going to need to be remade in the future for unknown reasons.
There you go. Now, I want to go back and run through this before, because we're at the Imperium Ballot. We're going to talk about this for a little bit. So, going back through each one of these. Brave, no Mark Resurrectus. Galmil, no Mark Resurrectus. GTC, there is Mark Resurrectus here. Sorry, I'm saying no Mike Azariah. There is Mark on Brave. There's no Mike Azariah. No Mark.
Yeah.
There is Mark on Galmil. No Mike Azariah. No Mike Azariah on GTC. No Mike Azariah on Pandemic Horde. There is Mike Azariah on the Imperium. Just because he's on the Imperium ballot does not mean he's a goon, guys. Let me just tell you. Okay?
Yeah.
Mike is... There are a lot of people in this game that are called the nicest guys in Eve. Mike is definitely the nicest guy in Eve. He's just nice. He's Canadian. He's polite. He's a good guy. He's retired. He likes to play Eve. He hands out ships to new players. He's the easiest person to put on a ballot. And nobody but us did it.
Well, I'll tell you about this one, about this ballot specifically, is as over the last couple of weeks, when it became more and more clear that the null block support that I was hoping for was not going to be there, and people were kind of consolidating their efforts, right? There were moments there where I thought, like, well, maybe this is it. Like, I'm going to have wormholers vote for me. I'm not concerned about that. But, last year, I think I had 1,400 to start and needed to pick up a couple more to finally get in. So definitely people in my position need some help. I have a great voter base of support. I love those guys. I think that they're gonna come for me again in a big way this year. But you need support at the high end, and it became more and more clear that that just was not going to be there, and that was scary. And then just the other day, I got a phone call.
Magic beam of light appeared.
I got a phone
from
call.
The sky.
Yes, clad in armor, wrapped in the divinity of the Imperator himself, descended from the sky, Kazanir, with a hand.
What an introduction!
A hand extended out towards me, as if to say, "Come, baby bird, it's okay." We'll make this happen for you. And yes, a wildly generous 4th place on the Imperium ticket, right behind the very noble Contan. It's the highest I've ever been on any nullsec ballot, for the record.
Yeah, well, like I said, everyone told me you were half goon, so it just seemed to make sense.
I mean, the night before,
I didn't realize actually that
fucking half the game that I'm not on his ballot this year because I'm half goddamn goon. Which at the moment I was mad about. And you know what?
But I should be happy because the group that actually knows how to get people elected more than one has you on their ballot. So there
I've reconsidered. I've upset the cat too from yelling. I'm sorry. Kaz, go ahead.
Sorry, Cat.
Let me clarify
ahead, Kaz,
that
please.
is the actual ordering of events, right? We heard Mark get termed half goon before these decisions were made and realized that things are going this way. And I said, I already gave my speech just now, right? I think it's great that Mark has landed in this spot and that there's someone who can serve as an interlocutor and talk to different groups, whether they're low sec and small gangers or wormholers or nullsec, and serve that sort of role. And I realized that it would be dire to end up with some piece of shit out of a wormhole I've never heard of, and that we should probably do what we can, and this is what we can do. So we're calling our shot with the ballot. I see the universe in a certain set of ways. We want to get as many of our peeps on as we can. We're going to push turnout again as hard as we can, just like last year. And yeah, we have put this is the best math in the Imperium, right? We've worked a lot on this. Special thank you to Angry Mustache for investing even more time in this than we previously had on analysis from the past several years, and we already have made this something we've invested into. We feel like this ballot, and specifically the ordering of it and the ordering of some of our allies' ballots, gives us the best sort of interlocking shot to maximize the potential number of people on the CSM who are not just blue, but who we think we can work with and who can see the universe in a way that is suitable for really all play styles. I feel like, you know, we didn't get into it, but there's a second ping from Alcoholic Satan about his CSM intentions that is really just all about fixing crab beacons and buffing drone lands, and it's just deplorable. Honestly, we can do better here. So I probably am not even going to be heard by a bunch of Horde people, right? But this is ridiculous. We have Eve is in its 20th year. I've spent a long time this year and intend to continue with the next CSM talking to CCP about how they can make Eve into a game that will be a 40-year game, and that we're talking about Eve at 50k players again or 100k players eventually. I really actually do think that that's possible, even though the path to get there is very long. But it's not going to be done by talking about the effing drone lands. So that is
correct.
You know, we have put
that
a lot
was my
into
shot
this
in the
ballot.
dark, and it's done because I'm not here anymore because I am term limited. Now, the Imperium Ballot. Let me talk a little bit about the Imperium Ballot. Then we're going to go through the rest that we have. So, I like the Imperium Ballot. No shit, I like it.
I do too.
I don't know. I mean, the fact that I have to explain it is kind of funny, but I like it. Why? Because I think, and this is not disparaging all of the other big blocks, even though it kind of is. This ballot that you see here, in my opinion, is the most balanced of all the ones that I saw put together. We took care of our own, but we made sure that the 3 guys that we put in the top are all guys that do different things. Kaz is our finance guy. Angry is our industry guy. Contan is our Pochvin guy. Mark does wormholes. Pando, one of the greatest players in the history of EVE Online.
Mm-hmm.
Knows small gang, knows big fleet stuff, knows big alliance stuff, knows wormholes, knows everything. Good guy to have on there. Dujek, brave newbies, new player guy, big group in nullsec. Drake, as much as Drake drives me crazy, I respect him. I know he cares a lot about this game, and he's for cat ears. That's good enough for me. Oz, finance wizard. Luke represents a key demographic in the Chinese time zone community, which is huge, needs to be on there. And Mike is the new player guy. We have a high sec guy. We have a Pochvin guy. We have a wormhole guy. We have a low sec guy. We have multiple null sec guys. We've got null sec line guys, and we've got null sec alliance leaders. This is the most
ad break. No one's hearing you.
Well, then they need to go and subscribe to the stream.
You got 10 seconds. Pitch the subscription.
The bottom line, I think this is one of the best, if not the best, well-rounded CSM ballots that you're going to see. And if everybody that is listed on this ballot gets elected or gets chosen by CCP, they will have done themselves a good job. They will have a CSM that will do almost as well as any CSM could do without me on it.
Well, there's one omission that, but we won't talk about him.
We will talk about him in a second because we're getting to the next ballot, which is Init's ballot. Now, a lot of people ask, where is Dark Shines? Why is Dark Shines not on Init's on Imperium ballot? Where is Shines? Shines doesn't need the Imperium ballot. No, Shines has the Init ballot.
That's right.
As you guys
so
know,
I mentioned this, right? I said some of our ballots really are interlocking and are part of a combined thought to get as many friendlies as we can on, and we don't think that Shines needs the shares, right? And are mutually confident of that. We've discussed it at the highest levels.
That is correct. I am fine with Shines not being on the Imperium ballot, even though I was advocating very hardcore that he be on there, but because he told me, you know what, I don't think I need it. So, you know what? Shines doesn't think he needs it because he's on the initiative ballots. Initiative, one of the biggest, most active groups in the game. They know how to vote. They've been doing it for years. They've gotten me elected 4 times. And I'm confident that they will get Shines and Pando reelected this time. Luke, number 3. Dujek from Brave, number 4. Contan, number 5. Amelia Dust. This is the only name that I'm going to disagree with because I don't like having the fact that Amelia's on here because he is so anti-Ansiblexes, but I understand why they did it. Oz, Mark, White Orchid, and Angry Mustache. This is a solid ballot, other than the one anti-Ansiblexer on there, but that's okay. It's fine. Now, next up, NC Dot. Now, we're going to laugh at NC Dot here because once again, NC Dot has demonstrated that one of the 2 alliances in EVE Online that I think most players active would consider to be the EVE Online version of a hospice center.
Yeah, I was gonna say
is NC Dot.
Boomer care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting excited during this show, but I saw those empty 3 slots, and I just buttoned my shirt right back up. Right, you're gonna have to get me warmed up again later. This is just disappointing.
I was excited that these guys did not fill the ballot is just nuts to me. Go ahead, Mark.
I was excited that they left the open slots in the ballot actually because it let me use the empty slot icon that I had set aside for this, but I had not actually used, which is just CCP Swift's face. But just look at his smiling face. He's so friendly.
There he is. Kelmac, Northern Coalition Dot. Okay. Velonad, the new Ken Feld. Okay. Storm Delay 3. I assume Storm is going to get all of their votes because he's the only one that's going to last long enough to get any trickle down.
No, but Velonad's going to get on from
You think Velonad's going to get on? Okay.
He's FRT number 2, so he's
all right. So if he's
one.
FRT number 2, then he's going to make it. So then then he will soak up the rest of these votes, and that'll be the end of that. So NC Dot, proving that yet again, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. They don't fill out the ballot all the way, and thus they are wasting votes, which is absolutely absurd. So, well, wonder what did their boys in PL do? Oh, they did the same shit. But not only did they do the same shit, they didn't even fill it out to 7. They only went to 6. And I give them credit for putting Sticks on there because he might actually get some votes this time. I don't know. We'll see.
Is this the Pandemic Legion that puts so many members of habitual euthanasia onto the Council of Stellar Management? I don't think so.
And it's weird because you would think that given the history of the CSM, and let me tell you, it's absolutely absurd. If you want to look at terms of CSM based by alliance size, let me show you right here. Most terms by CSM Alliance Corp, minimum of 2 terms. Number 1, Goonswarm Federation has had 19 different players serve 34 terms. Pandemic Legion, 11 different players serving 18 different terms. That's it.
Yeah.
So like the Alliance Tournament, the CSM seems to be something that, yet again, our friends in Geriatric Legion have managed to let slip through their fingers. Oops. Next. Oh, look, it's a wormhole CSM.
Hey.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Check this out.
This one, I want to be clear. This one probably does not have the same. I mean, it probably has more votes on it than PL.
Not according to last year. They had more than you.
They had more. No, well, last year Keenan was getting votes from fucking.
No, as in like just
Crushes
PL
hopes
alone.
angry.
Just PL alone had more ballots than you did.
Well, yeah, than my alliance. But what I'm saying is we're
right.
using this one as a kind of generalized wormholer ballot. If you want to be more specific to where most wormholers are going to be voting, I believe the top 4 of this ballot, maybe top 5, are where the bulk of voting is going to happen. And then outside of that, they're just a sprinkling here and there. I voted for this ballot because I like this ballot and I like the people on it. I did swap out Pando. I moved Pando up on a couple of my alts.
You like Phantom more than you like me.
No, now listen.
Shit!
I have to play the politics
You really,
game too.
This ballot is really full of people friendly to us, Mark. You really did us a solid.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
If you just look at the top, if we can make sure number 1 gets in, then you don't have to worry about any of the rest of them. What I've done here is
now,
I've
I
built
have to
a
say,
bomb.
That is exactly it. That is exactly correct. Because here is the deal. Okay, if there are enough votes for Mark to get elected, then none of the rest of these guys get any, and that's fine. But I'll be honest. Other than Pando and Drake to a certain extent, every single other person you put on here were everybody that said nerf Ansiblexes. And not a single fucking one of them is from Nullsec.
I chose to give Mark the benefit of the doubt when I was asked about this, and I said he's trying to get the votes from all those people. They share a voting base, and he needs to get in first because obviously they weren't bothering to rank him, right?
It is difficult to play the game, to play this part of the game in this position because you do have to, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. My top 4, I feel strong. Even Gideon. I know Gideon has wrangled you a little bit, but in terms of advocating for small to medium sized PvP blocks, Gideon has been a great advocate for those groups. One of the reasons perhaps why he is such a stick in the craw, as it were, for larger blocks. But Stitch, I believe in. I continue to believe in. Stitch is great. He's my very good friend, and I think that if he does not get into the top 10 this year, that CCP will put him in the top 12. And I think I think they'd be really stupid to not do that. Then Drake, of course, is my boy. I love Drake. I also hope that he gets on. No offense, Contan. I love you too. Rather, honestly, if one of the two, taken. Fair enough. If one of the two of you can do it, that is good for me. I've known Drake longer, so
no, for sure.
But then outside of this, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of horse trading going on here, right? Like, do I wish that horse trading had resulted in some higher placement on some of those ballots? A little bit. Am I going to be upset about it? It's not really worth wasting time. I mean, at this point, we've done everything we can do. I was telling somebody earlier today that there's not really any point stressing it at this point, because I do feel like, you do what you can do, and then you just send it out into the world and hope that it, you get returns from it. But I hope that we can make it happen again this year, one way or another. But we'll see. We got a long time between now and election day. So
that is true. That is true. All right. So now we're going to get into the last section of the show. We were going to talk about fights. We're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff, but we never got to it because we had so much stuff to go on. We got 10 minutes until Rampage starts, so I don't want to go too much over. But Fountain Frank did want to come on and give you guys his ballot. Okay. And I told him that he could. And I know you don't think it's a good idea, but I can't tell the guy no, because if I tell him no, he gets pissed off with me. So we're going to do a Fountain Frank update, and Frank is coming to give you his ballot. So we will be back in one moment with Frank. Oh, God.
while he's doing that, I'm gonna post in Twitch or in Twitch chat the Winter ballot too, because I didn't get a chance to post that one. He didn't go over it.
We did go over it.
Did you?
No, we did not. We did not go over it.
Yeah. I just posted it. No, it's fine. I know he didn't get us. It's fine. Yeah, I just posted it in Twitch chat.
We know it's hot mic, guys.
Will you guys shut the fuck up? For Christ's sake. Will you stop talking?
Frank's here. Fuck the fuzz.
Oh, Frank's here.
Hey, Frank,
will you
how
guys
you
ever
been?
stop talking?
No, Jesus.
Brisc really got us going. We're sorry. We'll let you go here.
I don't
Hey,
even
Frank.
understand this. It's like I'm coming on the show. I haven't been on in weeks, and you guys can't stop talking about Fraternity's Ballot. Who the fuck do you think is on Fraternity's Ballot? Luke? Duh. Who else do you think is on there? Luke?
Me.
Well, of course you're on there.
Ironically, Angry Mustache.
In what spot?
Fine. You know what? Fine. You want to talk about Fraternity's thing, then we'll bring it up, and you guys can talk about it for 10 seconds, and then you're talking about mine. Luke, number 1, Velenad, number 2, Pando 3, Storm Delay 4, Angry's number 10. At least you made it on there.
Happy to see you there, Mark. Happy to see Mark there. All right, Frank, we're here for you.
All right, Frank, what do you got?
Listen.
Now, before you start talking, Frank, you've had a long vacation, and you're coming in with a lot of heat right now. Okay.
Well, yeah. What else do you want from me?
I thought that your vacation would have tempered you a little bit.
No, it made me madder. I get mad when I'm not on the show, mainly because it's bullshit that Brisc never lets me on anymore. But second of all, the fact that none of you guys are actually doing anything, talking about the real fucking candidate that deserves to win more than all of you, and I mean every single one of you fucking guys on here.
Oh, God.
This guy has not gotten any love. Any love from these people.
Please.
But I'll tell you right now, there's only one person. One person.
God.
That should be voted for CSM this time around. It's fucking Millen. Where is he at? He's not on anybody's damn thing. He wasn't on Imperiums. He wasn't on Hordes. This guy is the smartest man in EVE Online. He fits four different types of guns to every ship. Why? Because you never know which one you might need.
You know what I like to say about these guys, Frank? Schizophrenia is the most powerful of the mental illnesses. And I think that's true. I mean, I wish that talking to Millen would have been more productive. I think he's going to take a little bit of seasoning before he can really contribute to EVE Online, but I am secretly a Millen fan, so I'm glad you're here, as a matter of fact, Frank.
Right there. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Listen, I don't want to hear any bullshit from you guys saying, Frank, we can't vote for the same guy 10 times. You're all a bunch of fucking IT hacker nerds. Figure it out.
I forgot to change the numbers in the second column. It's just 1 through 5 twice. Whoops. Listen, Frank,
George agrees with me.
When I think you need to understand, Frank, that this is fun for you, and this is really, really cool. I'm glad that you're getting so much enjoyment out of this. However, Millen Arc Trooper is my sleep paralysis demon. When I wake late at night and my body has seized up and I can only see straight ahead of me, all I see is the smiling face of Millen Arc Trooper saying, well, many people are saying this. And it causes
You're gonna have me doing the El Recitas laugh on the show here, Mark.
It causes me. My hands are shaking, Frank. You can't do this to anybody. You got.
I'm fucking doing it. It's happening. Millint,
Frank,
number 1
Frank, he
on
said,
every ballot. It has to happen.
He said the German community hates the current CSM. The German community.
That's because Brisc isn't on it. He was their guy. Anyway, well,
we gotta
Plato's
be
probably your
careful.
guy too.
We
But
gotta be
Millant, listen,
careful, Frank.
I want you guys to explain to me how anybody is better than the man who came up with a fit for a Tyrannus that had 3 different types of guns on it. Okay? I'm sorry, you can't do it. This man is a fucking genius, and you don't understand him. You all think you're going to run and you're going to do some content. It's going to be Mr. Pochvin guy, and Angry's going to be the guy with all the spreadsheets, and Mark is going to be Wormhole Man. But you're missing the glory that is the Millant fit.
It needs to be. You are absolutely right in that I do not understand the Millant.
Frank makes a good point. I think I should get into the fitting business this term. That's a great idea. We're really missing someone for it, right? If Millant doesn't get on, I'll do my best.
Anyway,
yeah.
There is one last thing that Brisc wanted to bring up that we're going to talk about on the next meta show, which will not be this weekend. We're going to talk about scarcity again because there was a good graph that came out today that he wanted to talk about. We ran out of time.
My graph was better.
We didn't hit the fight either.
I can make a better graph.
Henry's graph was good.
Oh, we didn't talk about the fight either. Jesus.
Brisc is lazy and he doesn't want to do the meta show on Saturdays anymore, so he's going to have to do another one. There will be no meta show this Saturday unless Mark does it. Mark, are you going to do a show Saturday?
I'm at a wedding on Saturday.
All right. So there will be no show Saturday, but we will be back the week afterwards, and maybe Brisc will let me here and hang out with you guys, and hopefully at that point we'll know FanFest wise, that Millant won. And that he's going to be the only member of the CSM this time, and that would be amazing.
I'm excited to see that.
I'm just saying.
For sure. Thanks for joining us, Frank. It was really good to see you.
Thank you. All right, you guys can chat. Brisc, I'm going to go find what happened to Brisc, where he went.
On that topic, I actually know Millant from another game where all he did was the equivalent of 6 pull, and then if his character got too notorious for cheesing in the early game, he'd just reroll another one. Until and just do it over and over again.
I was talking to somebody earlier today about Millant, and it's possible that he's just like a nice guy IRL. I have no idea. But talking to him the other night was like he's like the human equivalent of a verbal stun grenade. Like that he started making these arguments about why the current CSM is shit and we've done such a horrible job, and why only Millant has the answers for all that ails us. And I gotta be honest with you, I have never been so intellectually suplexed in my entire life.
This was the JNN show I joined.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, the dude put me face first into the mat before I'd even before the bell had rung. I had no answer for it. I didn't know how to respond. It was the craziest thing I'd ever felt in my entire life, dude. Oh. Anyway, hello, Brisc. Welcome back.
I'm back. Thank you guys for being nice to Frank. I know it's been a while since he's been on the show, but listen, okay, don't vote for Millant. All right, vote for somebody else. I mean, as much as I love him, he's a nice guy and everything. He's weird as shit, and I get worried that what would happen if all of my boys here on the screen had to deal with him on the CSM? That'd be kind of crazy. So this year, I'm not going to yell at you people and tell you not to vote for Phantomite. You know what to do. But I will say, just don't do what Frank said. He's not that.
Frank came back from vacation. He's a little unhinged now. Is what's happened.
Pretty much. So
yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the stream. I want to thank Contan, Angry, Kaz, and Mark for being here. Obviously, CSM elections are happening this week. We urge you to go out there and vote. If you are in the Imperium, you have the absolute 100% well-earned freedom to vote exactly the way the state has told you to.
No,
it's not you, Sam.
Brisc, did you just mute yourself?
He just muted himself.
He just muted himself.
We only heard up to if you are in the Imperium. So what Brisc wanted to say is, if you are a citizen of the Imperium, please exercise your freedom to vote exactly as the state tells you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm not muted. You guys are saying
back now.
How dare you?
Beautiful.
My internet connection is unstable is what the screen is telling me. But anyway, the bottom line is vote the way the state tells you to vote. If you are not in the Imperium, I urge you to take a look at some of the other candidates that we talked about today. Obviously, we would like to get all 4 of our guys here on the CSM next year. And we're looking forward to a good voting period. Obviously, the voting will be done in a different way than usual. The voting is the same way, but the reveal will not be on a stream. It will be live at FanFest here coming up in 2 weeks. So we will find out who will be the next CSM then, and we're going to have to find out who CCP chose to join them. So we shall see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This has been the Meta Show for Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. We are raiding Rampage Incorporated. I will be live on Rampage in about 5 minutes. In the meantime, you can go and see the most attractive man in EVE Online, Merkel Chen, chatting and hanging out. And I want to thank you all for joining us for this midweek show, and we will see you all next time here on the Meta Show. You stay classy. New Eve.